Okay, remember when, getting consumer attention was all about those huge TV ad budgets? Big
Oh
celebrities?
yeah, the Mad Men era. Feels like a lifetime ago sometimes.
Right, well, that whole world, it's just changing so fast. Today, trust often comes from, like, faces we see every single day,
Yeah,
right there in our feeds.
the influencers.
Exactly, the influencers. But hang on, because the landscape,
Yeah.
it's shifting again, pretty dramatically, actually.
Yeah.
What if the next, big face of influence isn't even human?
Now we're getting into it. AI avatars.
AI avatars. I mean, how do we even begin to wrap our heads around that? It feels like sci-fi, but it's happening now.
It really does, doesn't it?
And look, this isn't just some futuristic thought experiment. It's a real strategic thing brands are wrestling with, like right now.
Absolutely.
So our mission today really is to unpack this. Can an AI personality, something totally generated, actually influence a real person, build that crucial trust, especially somewhere like Bangladesh, where relationships, that personal connection are just everything?
That's a fantastic question to frame this deep dive because it really does move beyond just theory, doesn't it?
Yes.
This is a practical challenge. Professionals, students, business leaders, they all need to understand this and, frankly, figure out how to deal with it.
Right.
The implications for how brands connect with people, they're huge. And honestly, it's all happening faster than most of us probably realize.
So, okay, we see this massive shift in where attention's going.
Mhm.
But what does that really look like? Globally, are we talking like a small ripple, or is this a full-on tidal wave?
Good question. Let's zoom out.
Yeah, let's get some perspective. I've got
Yeah.
some numbers here that are, well, they're pretty staggering, just to show how huge this is.
Get me with them.
Okay, the global influencer marketing market in 2024, valued at $24 billion.
Wow, 24 billion.
$24 billion. And get this, it's projected to just skyrocket. Over $70 billion by 2032.
70. That's almost hard to comprehend.
$70 billion. It makes you wonder, doesn't it? Like, is our attention just constantly up for sale now?
It certainly is a mind-boggling figure, and it says so much about that consumer shift we're seeing, right?
Uh-huh.
People are just moving en masse to digital platforms, and they're looking for, well, more authentic content, even if sometimes that authenticity is, let's say, a perceived one.
Interesting point.
But what's even more fascinating, I think, is how quickly these AI avatars are carving out their own piece of that massive pie.
How quickly?
Well, the AI avatar market alone was projected to hit $6.95 billion in 2024.
$6.95 billion. Just for the avatar.
Just for the avatars.
Yeah.
That's nearly 29% of the entire influencer marketing industry value.
Wow. So almost a third already.
Exactly. It's not slow adoption. This is rapid, aggressive, even integration by brands.
That's incredible. Okay, so nearly a third of this huge market is already AI. Let's bring this closer to home,
Good idea.
because what's happening globally, it definitely has echoes here, right?
Yeah.
The Asia-Pacific region is a major engine for this growth. Expected to see, what, over 13% growth compared to just last year?
That's right. It's a key driver.
And, okay, while super specific, like up-to-the-minute data for Bangladesh itself is still emerging.
It can be hard to pin down sometimes.
Yeah, exactly. But the market was estimated around $140 million back in 2022, which, is not small.
Not at all. Significant.
And it's growing fast. So it clearly positions Bangladesh as this significant emerging player. Lots of room to mature in this space still.
That's right. And for any brand, any professional watching this space, that rapid growth, it naturally raises a question.
Which is?
What is the allure? Why are so many brands, big global ones, local ones too, paying such close attention to these digital beings?
Yeah, what's the draw?
And it's really important to understand we're not just talking about like simple cartoons. These are sophisticated digital entities.
Right.
They're meticulously crafted. They have backstories, personalities, even dedicated fan bases. They give brands this compelling and, in some ways, kind of revolutionary new tool.
And yeah, if you look at it purely from a brand's perspective, the advantages, they're pretty compelling.
Definitely.
Starting with just incredible cost efficiency and scalability. Think about it, right? An AI avatar doesn't need travel expenses, no per diems, no shipping physical products halfway across the world.
Logistics are simpler.
Brands can literally use one avatar for thousands of campaigns at the same time. Different markets, different languages, all without a single passport stamp.
That reach, that operational ease,
Yeah.
it's a huge draw.
It's a total game changer for reach and just, overhead costs.
And what's also incredibly appealing for brands, I think, is the level of control, almost total control.
Ah, right. Less risk.
Exactly. With a human influencer, there's always some risk, isn't there? A potential scandal, maybe they suddenly change their style, or a conflict of interest pops up.
Derails the whole campaign.
It can happen. An AI avatar, though, it basically eliminates all of that. Brands get complete, like, granular control. Appearance, messaging, every single action.
Total predictability.
Unprecedented level of predictability, yes.
Okay, that sounds like, well, it sounds like a brand's dream, doesn't it? An almost perfect, predictable machine.
From one angle, yes.
But does that absolute control, does it ever risk creating something, I don't know, too perfect, maybe a bit sterile?
That's a really perceptive point.
Could that lack of, human messiness, spontaneity, even the little imperfections, could that eventually work against building a real connection?
And that really hits on the core tension here, the paradox we need to explore. Because while that control is undeniably attractive, logistically speaking,
Yeah.
the data shows this fascinating thing when it comes to engagement. Some research actually suggests AI influencers can generate up to 3 times more engagement for the same cost as a human.
3 times.
On platforms like Instagram, TikTok, yeah.
Really?
So on paper, the raw numbers, the efficiency metrics, they look very strong.
Okay.
But, and this is a big but, the quality of that engagement, that's often where the human element really shines through.
Okay. And that brings us straight to the elephant in the room, right?
Yeah.
The whole authenticity problem. Because, yeah, AI offers control, scale, but there's still something inherently powerful, maybe even irreplaceable, about a human connection.
It's fundamental.
We follow real people because they feel real, relatable. It's basic. And actually, July 2024 report, I think it was Influencer Marketing Hub.
Yeah, I saw that one.
Found that 36.7%, so over a third of marketers themselves worry about a lack of authenticity with AI influencers.
That's significant, coming from them.
Right. And another 19% are worried about potential customer mistrust. Those are pretty big red flags coming directly from the people actually running these campaigns.
Absolutely. And it's not just a gut feeling, right? There are hard numbers backing this up.
Like what?
Well, a 2024 study by Hype Auditor revealed something quite stark. Sponsored posts by human influencers. They get a remarkable 266% more engagement than posts by AI influencers.
266%. Wow. That's almost 3 times more.
Nearly 3 times the engagement. And think about what that means. Human posts, they averaged about 187,000 likes and over 2,000 comments. Compare that to the AI posts, around 87,000 likes and just under 2,000 comments.
Still decent numbers, but way less interaction.
Exactly. So while AI might generate volume, that genuine human connection, it drives a much higher quality of interaction, more meaningful conversations, stronger communities.
That distinction, quantity versus quality of engagement, that feels really vital here.
It is.
And when you think about it, especially in those emotionally driven areas like fashion or beauty,
Definitely.
consumers really rely on human influencers, don't they?
Yeah.
They trust that lived experience, those personal stories, the genuine recommendations,
Yeah.
things only a real human can share.
Precisely. An AI avatar, no matter how well it's programmed with empathy, it just can't genuinely replicate a personal struggle or a moment of real vulnerability or a triumph.
It just can't, can it?
It comes down to relatability.
Yeah.
Fundamentally, we project ourselves onto human stories in a way that's just much harder to do with a perfectly programmed digital thing, however sophisticated it looks.
Right. Okay, so if we're trying to understand how this all actually plays out, in the real world, let's look at some examples.
Okay.
Case studies.
Good idea.
Globally, there's probably no bigger name in this AI influencer space than Lil Miquela.
Right. She's the OG, really.
Created back in 2016,
Yeah.
arguably the most famous one out there. She's got, over 2.7 million followers on Instagram.
Huge following.
And she's not just a, pretty digital face. She's presented as a musician, a model, an activist.
Multi-talented avatar.
She's collaborated with massive brands. Prada, Calvin Klein, Samsung. That's serious star power for someone who doesn't exist in the physical world.
It is.
But how does she, or really any AI influencer, actually achieve that level of influence? Build a compelling brand when they're not even human? What's the secret sauce?
Yeah, and that's exactly what makes her strategy so fascinating to dissect. It's not just about her digital look. No, it's built on this meticulously crafted backstory, a compelling narrative, a distinct personality,
Yeah.
and a very clear sense of purpose.
So storytelling is key, even for AI.
Absolutely crucial.
Yeah.
Her creators have deliberately blurred the lines between virtual and real. She has digital friends, she talks about her experiences, she engages with social issues. This whole approach, it just proves that even a digital persona needs the same level of storytelling, that emotional depth, that brand building, just like a human one does.
Right. Without that
It
narrative,
should just be pixels on a screen, no connection.
that's a really crucial insight. Even digital influence needs that human touch
Mm.
in its creation, in the storytelling. Okay, now let's pivot. Let's talk Bangladesh,
Okay.
where the landscape, as we said, it's a bit different. But that power of connection, just as strong, maybe even more so.
Definitely feels that way.
Here, the real power in influencer marketing, it seems to lie not with the huge global celebs, but with micro-influencers, nano-influencers even.
Yeah, the smaller scale creators.
These creators, they have smaller followings, sure, but they're incredibly dedicated. And their audience trusts them because they're seen as, like, peers, friends almost,
Right.
not distant stars.
It's that relatability factor again, writ large.
Totally. And there was a 2024 report on Southeast Asia.
Mm.
It highlighted that most brands and consumers in this region really prioritize authenticity.
Above sheer reach sometimes.
Exactly. And they consistently find these nano-influencers far more relatable.
Yeah.
Because, well, they live in the same communities, they speak the same slang, they get the nuances of daily life.
And this is where we're seeing Bangladeshi brands really innovating, I think.
How so?
Well, you see companies like Duraz, Foodpanda, Chorky, they've been really effective using local micro-influencers to great success.
Right, those campaigns feel very local.
Precisely. These creators connect so deeply with the Bangladeshi audience because they use the local language, the local context, the specific humor.
Yeah.
Think about campaigns for, say, the 11.11 sale. They work not just because of the deals.
No, there's more to it.
It's because the content feels like a genuine, heartfelt recommendation from a trusted friend, someone who actually understands your needs, your culture, that authenticity, that local resonance. It's incredibly powerful.
Okay, so that paints a really clear picture.
Yeah.
So for you listening, maybe you're a brand manager, maybe you're a professional just trying to navigate this evolving landscape.
It's moving fast.
How do you actually apply these insights? This isn't just theory, right? It's about practical strategy.
Exactly. Actionable steps.
So we've kind of distilled it down into a 4-step action plan. And the first step, it sounds simple, but it's crucial. Define your goal first. What is your key objective?
Start with the why.
Right. If it's broad brand awareness, huge reach, then maybe AI avatars can be a primary tool. They're good at those big, high-impact campaigns where novelty captures attention.
Makes sense for awareness.
And if your goal is conversion, building deep trust, especially for things like product reviews, personal recommendations, those more emotionally driven campaigns,
where a connection matters most.
then human influencers, particularly those relatable micro-influencers, they become absolutely critical.
Yeah.
And you need to budget strategically, too. There was a 2023 DigiSocial report. It noted that many Bangladeshi brands tend to overpay, often without really measuring the actual impact of their spending properly.
That's a vital starting point. Get the goal right, budget smart. Okay, step 2.
Step 2, conduct a really thorough relevance and authenticity audit.
Okay, what does that involve?
It means don't just look at the follower count. That big number can be deceiving.
Right, vanity metrics.
Exactly.
No.
A high engagement rate, so likes, comments, shares, that's far more important than just a massive but maybe disengaged follower number.
Quality of the audience.
We've seen it in Bangladesh, right? Some celebrity influencers might have millions of followers, but a surprisingly low engagement rate, sometimes as low as like 1.25%, according to that same DigiSocial report.
Wow, that's low.
So always make sure the influencer's audience demographics precisely match your target customer. Sounds obvious, but
it gets overlooked surprisingly often. Good point.
Yeah.
Okay, step 3.
Step 3 is where it gets really exciting, I think. Create a blended strategy.
The hybrid model.
Yeah, this isn't about choosing one or the other. The future is definitely hybrid. Think of it like this.
Okay.
Your human influencer, with their real passion, they spark that emotional connection. That's the core, maybe irreplaceable.
The human spark.
Right. Now imagine AI tools taking that spark and instantly fanning it out into like 1,000 tiny flames, customizing messages, translating nuances, maybe even predicting which versions resonate most with different audience segments.
All in real time.
All in real time. It's not just augmenting the human effort, it's potentially multiplying its impact exponentially, reaching people and places in ways a solo human just never could.
That's a perfect way to put it, leveraging the strengths of both.
Okay, and the final step.
Step 4. And this one might be the most crucial for building long-term trust.
Mm.
Prioritize transparency.
Disclosure.
Yes. If you choose to use an AI avatar, be absolutely upfront about it. Disclose clearly that the persona is AI generated.
Don't try to fool people. Exactly. This builds trust because it shows you're not trying to deceive your audience.
Yeah.
Frame the AI avatar as, a creative experiment or a new form of digital storytelling.
Not as a real person.
Right, rather than trying to pass it off as real. Honesty here, it's your strongest asset, truly.
Absolutely agree. Transparency is key.
Now, this whole journey into AI influence, it's definitely not without its challenges. There are some common risks, pitfalls you really need to watch out for.
Important to be aware of the downsides.
First, just ignoring that authenticity gap we talked about.
Trying to use AI where it doesn't fit.
Precisely. A 2024 study showed a clear disconnect. AI influencers might do okay with objective products like electronics, maybe.
Specs and features.
Yeah. But human influencers are far more effective in those emotionally driven sectors. Fashion, beauty, travel maybe. Ignoring that distinction, big risk. You could totally alienate your audience by misapplying the tech.
That makes sense. What else?
Another big one, especially highlighted in a 2023 report about Bangladeshi influencer marketing, is the problem of unsolicited content.
What does that mean exactly? Basically, if a brand's campaign isn't well planned, if it doesn't feel natural, the audience can easily see it as just a forced, unauthentic promotion.
Like a bad ad shoved into their feed.
Exactly. And that leads to negative feedback, can really damage the brand's perception. It's not enough to just have an influencer. The content has to feel organic and earned.
That authenticity challenge again. And then there are the ethical considerations, which are pretty critical.
Yeah, we have to talk about ethics.
Using AI avatars, it can raise big questions about, well, for example, perpetuating unrealistic beauty standards.
Potentially, yeah.
Or even unintentionally spreading misinformation if they're not programmed with really robust safeguards.
The programming is key.
There was a 2024 report from an AI influencer company, actually, warning that brands failing to proactively address these ethical issues, they risk significant backlash, a damaged reputation. It's about being, responsible digital citizens.
Absolutely. It's not just about effectiveness. It's about responsibility. So, okay, for the corporate organizations, the brands listening, how do they navigate this? What's the path forward look like?
Right, the action plan.
Well, first I'd say invest in a hybrid team. You need people who understand creative storytelling and deep data analytics and AI expertise. It's that combination.
Makes sense. Blended strategy needs a blended team.
Exactly. Second, develop a clear, transparent policy for any AI-generated content you use and communicate it proactively. Your reputation depends on that trust.
So be upfront, internally and externally.
Precisely. And third, critically important, don't just jump in head first. Start with pilot projects.
Small tests first.
Small-scale tests. Maybe use one AI avatar for one specific project. Rigorously measure the consumer reaction, the engagement quality, the ROI. Hype auditors strongly suggest running like a cost-impact test comparing AI versus human campaigns before you scale up.
Learn first, then grow.
Learn, then grow. That's the smart way.
Okay, great advice for brands.
Yeah.
Now, what about for you listening? Maybe you're a graduate student or just starting out in your career looking to make a mark in this evolving field.
Yeah, how do they prepare?
Well, first, become a hybrid expert yourself. Don't just study marketing in a silo. Dive into data analytics, understand AI tools, but also master the art of storytelling. The future really demands professionals who can bridge that gap between the human and the digital.
That cross-disciplinary skill set is key.
Definitely. Also, really focus on mastering those soft skills, things AI can't replicate.
Like what?
Emotional intelligence, true creativity, strategic thinking, problem solving. These are uniquely human capabilities, and honestly, they're only going to become more valuable as AI handles more routine tasks.
Good point. Focus on what makes you human.
Exactly. And finally, specifically for this market, analyze local trends. Use your knowledge of the local culture. Understand which micro-influencers are really gaining traction in Bangladesh and figure out what genuinely makes a campaign resonate with that specific audience. That local insight, it's gold, pure gold.
Couldn't agree more. That local nuance is irreplaceable.
Okay, so let's try and quickly recap our deep dive today. Look, a global influencer market. It's huge, absolutely massive. Over $24 billion.
Mind-boggling numbers.
And AI avatars. already contributing nearly 29% of that value, a huge chunk.
Rapid growth there.
But in Bangladesh, while the market's growing fast, the real power, it seems, truly lies with those authentic, relatable micro-influencers.
Connection is king.
AI offers incredible scale, incredible control, but it fundamentally struggles with that crucial authenticity, that emotional connection.
The human touch matters.
Which is where human influencers consistently drive higher quality engagement. So the winning strategy for the future, it looks clearly like a blend.
Hybrid is the way.
A powerful, synergistic combination of human creativity and AI efficiency. Success, especially for Bangladeshi brands and professionals, it's going to come from being data-driven, strategic, but always profoundly human-centric in your approach.
Well summarized. And that brings us, I think, to the ultimate question for you, for everyone listening as you step into this future.
Yeah.
Do you have the courage to experiment with AI, to embrace its power, while, and this is the crucial part, while unequivocally prioritizing that human element right at its core? That, ultimately, that's the question that will define your success.